nearly forgot this one. This is my Cattleya Maxima. Now, a little unusual. This has got some new growths pushing up, as you can see. It's got one low down here, it's got some nice new roots and a new shoot coming there. There's actually two types. There's an upland Maxima and a lowlands Maxima. And so far the scientists, and them with white coats and the goggles, have decided they are not two separate species or a subspecies of each other, and they're going to keep the same name. But they are quite different. The uplands one, which I believe this is one of, has much deeper coloured flowers. Both of the types of flowers have got the unique little yellow stripe down the middle of the lip. That's really their trait. But these grow much smaller, as would typify an upland plant. Yeah, less nutrients, possibly less rain, etc., less temperature. So a smaller, more compact plant with a much deeper, intense colour to the flowers. The lowland ones, however, grow into giants. They have more like the magenta colour rather than nearer purple. So what I would class as two distinct plants that at the moment are staying as a single species, even though they are quite different depending on the environment they come from. This is a relatively young plant. I do believe this latest growth sheath might actually flower, but we shall see. So that's Cattleya Maxima. This is a Cattleya that's come all the way from French France. I love this one on this mount. Wherever there's a place for roots, this has managed to find it. It's a root system and a half. Everywhere you look, it's put roots. And if I can turn it round, that's the back of the bark. This loves its mount. I'd hate to have to ever get it off, but why would I want to? It's happy. The last year's new growth didn't flower. Nothing, not a light. Okay, but this new growth might. It was a tiny little seedling when I got it, literally 2 bulbs, those two, the 2 oldest ones. So all of that growth is mine. So that's Jarrak Summer, bright yellow gold flowers, perhaps one day. Okay, happy on its mount. Right. Okay, now onto this top shelf. I'm going to try and lift these plants down one at a time, but there may come a time when I've just got to put the camera down. I'll see how I go. Right. This is Gold Digger. It's got no label on it, but I know it's Gold Digger. I know it's Gold Digger because I scrubbed it out of my notes and classed it as a discarded plant. I threw it away. It was a big plant, but it had it. It was tatty. It just was not nice. So I threw it out under the hedge. So there's a little story behind this one, because after about 2 to 3 months of living under the hedge with no pot, nothing, I noticed a new growth. That one. It grew that outdoors, living on its own in the pouring rain, with the cats moving it around near their toilet, and I decided to rescue it. So I cut a piece off. It's got plenty of moss around the base, it's got no roots, and it's strapped in there, but it has got a new eye and it is moving. So we may have rescued Gold Digger. In a way, I hope so, because it's one of the nicest Cattleya flowers you can have. The orange and the red is just it's just a lovely flower, and you can get a large number on a single spike. So little rescue plant, Gold Digger. Okay, this is a BC, a Brasso Cattleya. This one's called Little Mermaid, and it's variety Janet. Again, a compact little plant. The latest growth there decided to sort of hang over the side before I could get a stick to it and straighten it up. Nonetheless, it's a compact plant. This has recently flowered for me. I think it had 2, maybe 3 flowers. It's a nice little plant. I like it. It's got a root system, some outside the pot and some inside the pot. So nice little compact Cattleya, and it has actually flowered for me. These are the sort of size plants I actually like. You know, they fit in your hand, as they say. Right, next one. Right, you can probably tell by now that when you see really sturdy wires around a plant, it's because it hasn't got any roots, and this is just to hold the flipping thing still and give them a chance. And this is one such plant. Okay, this is a Esopharonitis. Now that's a bit unusual, isn't it? It's actually a named hybrid. I'll zoom in, you can read those off for yourself. But again, it's got Esopharonitis coccinea within it, combined with a Laelia. So this would be an SL, if we were using the abbreviations. I hope this one makes it. It's an unusual cross. Again, a bit of moss around the base to try and encourage some roots. So far that encouragement is not working very well. We'll see how that one goes. It's not a bad plant though. More wires holding this one up. Now, where on earth this name came from, I really don't know. Ivanagara, but it's apple blossom. I was encouraged to get this by a YouTuber, and having seen the flowers and apparently almost sniffed the scent myself from the description I got, I thought we'll go and get this one. And I managed to find a reasonable version. It's not a bad plant. It's flowered before, so yes, it was flowering size. It has got roots down in the pot. It's got a reasonable root system on it. Recently been repotted. And yay, we have a spike. See, another Cattleya playing games. This has decided to just put the buds straight out from the pseudobulb. No sheath, no wet sheath, no dry sheath, no shriveled sheath, just buds straight out of the pseudobulb. They love playing games, our Cattleyas. Unusual name, that one though. Nice plant, pleased with that. Right, a loose description of this plant would be a mess. It just looks a mess. Nonetheless, it's a Potinara again. This is Orchids Tradition and variety Topaz. Nearly all of these bulbs have flowered, but they didn't flower for me. They flowered for somebody else. However, that one sheath, that dried up looking manky thing there with the top trimmed off, has actually got buds in it. I doubt if we can get the shadow to show up. No. Nonetheless, trust me, there are buds in there. So, yeah, it's not the best looking plant. It's been in that pot far too long. What roots there are have wrapped around the inside of that pot. But at the moment I'm reluctant to take it out. It's been like that for a long time. The media hasn't broken down. It's still quite large. It's still chunky. There's no whiffy smell of mushrooms in amongst it when I water it. So I'm just going to let that flower and then we'll dig it out and see what's left afterwards. Okay, so another Potinara, intergeneric hybrid of the Cattleya variety. Right, these last few are just too big for me to be able to hold and still get in camera shots. They're just very large plants. My arm just isn't that long. I can't get far enough away from it, so I've had to put this down. This is another Potinara, multi-generic. It's got a big long flashy name with a #2 on the end, which I haven't got a clue what that means. I think it's something to do with the gene count or something like that, or chromosomes. This is where the root system should be, and no, it isn't there. Basically another plant that was repotted at a bad time. This one has signs of what could be a virus, so I keep this one not touching. That growth did not mature properly. It even tried to put a sheath out, but as you can see by the size of the plant and the pseudobulbs, that one's not right, and that was the last one it did. I took it out and repotted it, give it a clean start to see if that would actually perk it up, and so far not a light. It may perk up, but I'm still keeping it separate, if in doubt, as they say. So a big plant, but not a happy plant. Now we're getting to really big. These leaves on these pseudobulbs are around 10 inches long. It's a giant of a plant, incredibly top heavy, hence the scaffolding all around here. Again, my fault, but repotted at the wrong time. It's a shame actually, because it was a good plant and it's now lost the biggest part of its root system. But the pseudobulbs are still looking plump, so it's not deteriorated as a consequence, and I think it will pull through. This is a BLC, this is Beauty Girl, and then it's a variety CU Cova. Where do they get these names from? Anyway, it's a giant of a plant, an absolute giant. Top heavy, doesn't even come close. I've taken the end of that sheath off, mainly to poke my nose in and see if there was anything in there, and I don't think there is, probably due to the shock of losing its root system. But I like it, even though it's a giant. And I really do hope that one will recover. It's a lovely flower, but a giant of a plant. And the last one of the monsters, this is a no ID, it's just a Cattleya hybrid. It does have absolutely stunning flowers. If you have a look at my channel base, the picture that comes up at the top when you visit my channel, the actual Cattleya in the top right hand corner, where I'm supposed to put my mugshot apparently, but that is what the flowers are on this one. They are really, really a nice orange red, and basically it can put up an awful lot of spikes. This was going to be my showpiece at the last spring show, not the one that we've just done the video for, a year ago before that. It had 2 spikes, one had 7 buds, one had 5 buds. And basically it came to watering time, and one of the spikes was down to 2 buds, and one of the spikes was gone completely. We had a little beastie visit us in the night, Mr. Slug, and it took me 2 more nights to find that little beast. And I took great delight in putting that under my boot out in the garden. So basically that took away its chance of probably a good award at the show. Since then the plant has started to look a bit tatty, and again I don't know whether it needs repotting or whether it should have been repotted, but there's an awful lot of dead roots. But there's still some live ones down in the pot, and there are signs of new ones. Most of the sheaths on the top of this one are old ones. This is the only one that has potential to flower. That has actually got lumpy bits in it. But they're brown, so that one's gone. So it's got no new growth at the moment, but it has got eyes. It's a giant of a plant, but it is starting to look quite tatty. I don't know whether it's just got too big. Anyway, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. I certainly don't want to lose it. I might actually split it and take the leads off. We shall see. But a biggie nonetheless. And so, from the giants of the Cattleya world to the miniatures of the Cattleya world. This is Esopharonitis. Not quite sure how you actually pronounce this. It's a funny word. Cernua, or Kernua, something like that. Nonetheless, lovely little plant. I love little miniatures like this. It's got a lovely new growth poking up the top there. That was its last new growth, the one with the pair of leaves. It's another one of these plants, sometimes 2 leaves on a pseudobulb, sometimes only 1. But it's pushed out some roots attaching to the bark down the bottom there. I like it, it's a nice little plant. So, my smallest Cattleya by far. Tiny little thing. But again, lovely red flowers, absolutely stunning red flowers. And unlike the cochineal, when this one pushes out a flower spike, it has several flowers on the spike instead of a single flower, as many as 4 or 5 in an ideal world. Not flowered for me yet, it's still a relatively young plant, but it is mature, even though it's tiny. So we end on a tiny note. Nice, happy little plant. Seems to do okay on its mount. Pushing out some new growths. There's another one right in there. I don't know whether you can see that one. There's one in there as well. So, happy little plant. So that was my Cattleya collection, a motley crew. They're not my best plants. Some do well, some don't do well. I'm hoping that now I know about the problems with repotting and actually waiting for the new roots to show, irrespective of where the growths are. The growths don't matter, it's the roots that are important. Roots before shoots, as they say. And certainly with Cattleyas, a repot on a Cattleya will often, it'll just drop its old roots, it'll just dump them because it's been disturbed. And then it might sulk and it may not. But if you've got a good selection of new roots coming out, irrespective of whether that growth above it is mature or whether it's a brand new growth or no growth showing at all, the time to play with Cattleyas is when those new roots are pushing out. And don't let them get too long. You know you're going to snap them, don't you? And if you snap a new root, chances of it branching are pretty slim. So take care with your Cattleyas, catch them at the right time, or mount them, and then it really doesn't matter that much because they'll just do so much better. And then you need lots of time to water them all the time. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. That's the Cattleyas. We'll move on to something else next time round.